Welcome to the Alcohol Edition podcast. My name is Lee Davey. I'm not an alcoholic. I refuse to be anonymous. I'm someone who doesn't drink alcohol, and I spend every waking moment helping other people do the same, including right now, walking home from the first part of my day. I'm currently in Los Angeles in a place called Tujunga, where I'm reliably informed by a friend who I talk to in Starbucks has a criminal ranking of 3 out of 100, with 100 being the safest and 1 being the most likeliest place that you'll get your head blown off. So let's hope that I could get home in the next 20 minutes in one piece. Hey, it's going to answer a question that has been posed by Eartha. Eartha joined the Truth About Alcohol website, if you like, you know, the email list, whatever you want to call it. She hasn't taken part in the Stripe movement yet, or the taster, or the intensive. But whenever you join, it gives you the opportunity to ask a question, which I then answer. And Eartha's question is a really interesting one, actually. Basically, Eartha's family is immersed in the wine industry. So, from what I can gather from her question, everybody in her family works in the wine industry. So the question Eartha is posing is, what do you do if you want to give up drinking alcohol and everybody in your family works in the alcohol industry, in this case the wine industry? So I'm going to break this down into 2 parts, and the first part that I'm going to talk about needs to be broken down into 2 parts as well. So the first part is around our decision to become someone who doesn't drink alcohol, and how we're going to manage triggers if our entire family works in the alcohol industry. And I want to break this down to short term and long term. Let's deal with short term first. In my experience, if you're going to be in and around alcohol, the discussion of it, an environment that's filled with it, people drinking it, and you have just made the first steps to becoming someone who doesn't drink alcohol, then you're going to be in a very difficult situation, right? Because you're going to get triggered a lot. So my first piece of advice would be, in Eartha's case, well, normally my advice would be, reduce the amount of time that you spend in these environments, around these people, in these situations. So Eartha, if you can do that, because although they are your family, I don't know how often you spend time with them. So I have a family, I don't spend a lot of time with them. If you can, in those early days, and I guess you're in those early days now, spend less time around them and around those environments, then that is only going to be a good thing. Okay? Now, you don't have to tell your family or that you're going to stay away from them. I don't tell my family that I decide not to spend a lot of time with them. I just don't spend a lot of time with them, all right? So, or if you have a really good relationship with them, you can just explain to them that you want to stop drinking alcohol, give them the reasons why, and for the short period of time, you're not going to be spending that much of time around them when they're drinking until you feel strong enough to be able to do that, because you don't want to drink, right? So that is one possibility. The second possibility, well, the second outcome is not a possibility, an outcome. Maybe you are stuck with this and you can't get away from being in and around your family or the wine industry, in which case it's really important that you get support, a support group, and people that you can talk to, and tools that you can learn. So with that in mind, Eartha, I'll be giving you the advice to actually upgrade yourself from being on our email list to actually being a member of the Strive movement. Because if you're a member of the Strive movement and you feel triggered to drink alcohol because of your environment, then at least you have people to talk to about it that can help you create a toolkit to essentially deal with your trigger, right? So what happens to all of us is we get triggered to drink alcohol for a variety of different reasons, and rather than reach into our tool bag and find a way of writing out those feelings and that trigger, we just drink, right? We reach for the instant gratification because we believe that the pain that the trigger is causing us in that moment is just too much for us. When in truth, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's just we've become used to just reaching for that glass of wine or that lager or whatever. But if you are a member of Strive and the truth about alcohol, or you're doing the taster or something like that, then you're able to post your trigger, you're able to talk through it with somebody, and even just posting your trigger, writing, and what I mean by that is writing out your trigger. Where was I, who was I with, how was I feeling emotionally, what time of day was it, what value did I perceive that drinking alcohol was going to provide me in the moment when I was triggered, why could that perceived value be an illusion? By writing out those questions and answering them in itself is going to be very therapeutic for you, and it's going to get you to really start thinking about alcohol. If anything, it is definitely going to stir up the cognitive dissonance in your mind, and I actually think that's a good thing, because the reason that we become hooked on alcohol is because we were very effective in getting rid of that cognitive dissonance. Well, we want it to return. We want that internal fight so we can eventually unravel all the mysteries around alcohol addiction. Okay. Furthermore, when you're posting your triggers, you're going to get people helping you out. You're going to get people like me, the moderators, your peer group, and they're going to be giving you suggestions on how you can better manage your triggers. Because that's all it's about. It's all about trigger management, right? See if I can cross over without getting run over. Now, the second part of that equation that I talked about is more of a long-term thing than a short-term thing. Now, if you immerse yourself in the truth about alcohol philosophy, all right, by joining the Strive forum, taking the taster, the intensive, etc., etc., and if we're not for you and this is not your philosophy that you want to follow, then follow the Alan Carr philosophy, follow Hello Sunday Morning philosophy, go to AA, follow this Naked Mind philosophy. There's so many out there. There's more ways to help you stop drinking alcohol today than ever before because of the internet, right? But you need to immerse yourself in a philosophy. You need to change the way you think about alcohol. And at the moment you're probably thinking that alcohol is normal, so it's normal to drink it, and why wouldn't you if your entire family earn the income by making wine, okay? And you will also likely feel that alcohol has a great deal of benefits and it's very pleasurable to you. Now, the fact that you believe that it's normal and pleasurable is the problem. That thought process, those belief systems, allow alcoholism as an invisible, violent, and dominant belief system to permeate your life, and that becomes your standard thinking around alcohol. So whenever you're in and around your family who are drinking wine or talking about wine, you're going to think that it's a good idea to join them and have a drink, right? However, if you immerse yourself in a philosophy like the truth about alcohol, and you learn that in fact drinking alcohol is not normal, because we know it's not normal to drink a powerful poison. We know that our body rejects it. We know that it's not normal to take these type of drugs because they're very addictive, and society doesn't like us taking drugs, but for some reason it pushes this one on us with glee. And we also know that alcoholism, when you learn this philosophy, is not a byproduct of taking too much alcohol. Alcoholism is an invisible, violent, and dominant belief system. Now, I truly believe, because it worked for me and I see it working for people every day within our little movement, that if you understand and learn and create a belief system that turns into a conviction that alcoholism is an invisible, violent, dominant belief system, and you learn that alcohol has no value long term, then eventually you will not have a desire to drink alcohol and you will not have any cravings, right? Now, if you have no desire to drink alcohol and no craving, then what does it matter if your family exist and live in the wine industry? The whole world could exist and live in the wine industry, and it wouldn't matter to you because you don't feel the desire or the craving to actually drink alcohol. So for example, many of us could be, we could be in a party, right? We could be in a party and someone could be in a corner shooting up heroin. Well, if that happened to me, my way of thinking about heroin is that if I inject myself, I'm likely going to die, or I'm certainly going to become super addicted to it. I could catch HIV or AIDS. This is the narrative that I built up over many, many years, promulgated by society and all the institutions and all the marketing and the advertising when it comes to heroin, right? So I'm not going to take it. If you develop the same kind of belief system about alcohol and overpower your old one, then when you're in and around your family and they're talking about the wine industry and talking about how great wine is and, oh, doesn't this a vintage 1456 taste better than this vintage fucking blah blah blah, because we know it's all bollocks, right? Blind taste tests will show that even these so-called experts don't know the difference between $2 chuck and a 200,000 pound bottle of wine, right? So once you don't have the cravings, it doesn't matter. So the best way to deal with this issue that everybody around you drinks wine is to learn a new philosophy and stop drinking alcohol. I, for example, don't drink alcohol. If I was to suddenly join your family, if I was to marry you, Eartha, and I became your brother-in-law, your husband, whilst it might piss me off that everybody around me is talking about wine and drinking wine because it goes against my value system, I'm not going to be feeling the urge to drink wine. I never feel the urge to drink any kind of alcohol, no matter what the situation. I could be in a pub with all my friends, everybody's drinking. I will not drink alcohol. I will not feel the urge to drink it because my philosophy has changed. So if I can do it, Eartha, so can you. So that, for me, is your get out of jail free card. You need to do the work and you need to make this philosophy stick, right? Now, the second part of this plan that I wanted to talk to you about is what do you do in the meantime? How do you communicate with your family in a respectful way so they can help support you going through this process of becoming someone who doesn't drink alcohol at the same time while they are selling alcohol? Now, my advice to you on this would be to buy a book by Melanie Joy called Beyond Beliefs. Now, the book is written by a vegan, okay, who is talking about relationships between vegans and non-vegans, okay? So she's basically, Melanie is saying, if you're a vegan and your entire family eat meat, then how are you going to communicate and coexist with them? Now, the reason the book is so fantastic is because there is absolutely no difference between the relationship between a vegan and a non-vegan and someone who drinks alcohol and someone who doesn't, because they're both invisible, violent, dominant belief systems, right? They're both very much the same. So you can pick up Melanie's book and you can have a read of that, and she will give you so much. That book is full of so much advice on how you can have conversations with your family that allows them to understand and respect your decisions about why you need to change, to provide you with all the support that they can while still working and existing in the business that they probably love and are very proud of, right? I don't have all the examples off the top of my head right now, but if you can do that, if you could get that book and really get stuck into it. But there's no way around this really, Eartha. One of the things about being someone who doesn't drink alcohol, we need to really get used to being radically honest and radically transparent, and we need to have really difficult, challenging conversations with people. And my advice would be to have these when you feel confident enough to have them, because if you go into these conversations not really kind of sure about where you are with it, not sure if you want to drink or not, feeling a little bit weak around it, a little bit pathetic, feeling a little bit embarrassed, ashamed, guilty, then the people we're talking to are going to smell that fear and they're going to use it to their advantage to make our lives very difficult. But if we go into the conversations with strength, with courage, with confidence, with our back straight, with our shoulders up high, really showing them that the decision that we made to be someone who doesn't drink alcohol is a fantastic one, and that we're really proud of why we've made that decision, and how great and wonderful that we feel because of it, what you'll get back is respect. You'll get respect, you'll get understanding, because I've experienced it and I've seen it, okay? So I hope that helps, Eartha. If it doesn't, then drop me a line at thetruthboutalcohol@gmail.com. If anyone's got any questions on this, let me know. Thank you, folks. I'm just going to go home and eat a burrito, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.